Amen. Amen. Y'all, I'm not going to be before you very long. I want to let y'all know I am so thankful, so proud, and so honored to be the pastor of St. John Kushner. For giving me this opportunity. Some folks take lightly what God does for them, but I am proud of what God has done for me. I couldn't have done it without the Lord. I would not be here. This morning when I got here, I was tired, wore out, beat, broke down, didn't feel too good. But the Lord encouraged me this morning when a little girl that came and smiled. And then the Lord blessed us with this great program, so I am encouraged today. I'm going to choose another book of the gospel, Luke. We've heard Matthew 28, 1 through 12 this morning, 1 through 10 this morning. But I'm going to the great physician Luke, Luke chapter 24, verses 1 through 12. You'll find these words. Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came upon the sepulchre, bringing spices which they had prepared, and a certain others with them. And they found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre. And they entered in and found not the body of the Lord Jesus. Somebody look at the neighbor and say, neighbor, stop looking in. And it came to pass that they were much perplexed. Therefore, about 2 men stood by them in shining garments. Somebody said, listen. And as they were afraid and bowed down their faces to the earth, they said unto them, why seek ye the living among the dead? He is not here, but is risen. Remember how he spoke unto you when he was yet in Galilee, saying, the Son of Man must be delivered unto the hands of sinful men, and be crucified, and the third day arise again. Verse 8 said, and they remembered his words. Look at your neighbor one more time and say, neighbor, you ought to learn something. You ought to learn something. Look, listen, and learn. But I want to talk to y'all for a few minutes on the subject. Stop looking for life in dead places. Stop looking for life in dead places. The 4 Gospels here that are recorded, you find them in very different pieces in each individual Gospel. The strangest thing about them, all of them tell the same story, but all of them add a little something else to it. And I'm always amazed at the fact how the writers of the Bible are able to not necessarily talk to others, but their writings always reinforce what one says. Oftentimes in these various Gospels, we see things and people say, well, that don't make no sense. You can't do this before that. What you have to realize is that the Bible, when it was written by various different men at various different times. A lot of people assume that the Bible was just handed down from heaven, and that's what we have. But the Bible was assembled by men under the guise and under the directions of God. And because it was done that way, men wrote at different times. Somebody said, write it. Says, I'm going to write it down for me, make it plain. But I want you to understand that in this particular text here, as the writer was writing it, he brought to our attention that they went to the tomb looking for Jesus. The scary part about it, y'all, is they had been around Jesus and they had heard what Jesus had said, but no one apparently understood that Jesus said, I will be there when you come looking for me. Some of us today, y'all, we often go looking in what I call dead places and expecting life. What God wants us to do is to stop looking for life in places where life cannot be at. If they had understood and believed what Jesus would have said, they would not have went to the tomb looking for Jesus. Some of you read the writings, they went to the tomb looking to prepare his body, not realizing he wasn't going to be there. We ought to stop looking for life in dead places. Let me give give you another example where people look for life in dead places. Oftentimes we find ourselves on jobs that God has called us to go and do something different, and we keep staying there hoping that things are going to get better, but God has told us it's time to go look somewhere else. Stop looking in the same place. Oftentimes, y'all, one of the greatest things in life that people in relationships look for life in a relationship that is already dead. Sometimes in your life you got to pray and ask God, God, what is it that you want me to do and where you want me to go, and then go look what God told you to go look at. But I've been there before, y'all. I've struggled before, y'all. But this text also outlines something that you have to do like these ladies did. I'm sorry, brothers, I'm going to take a few shots at us today because notice in the text it said that the women were there early in the morning. That's often the problem that happens in the church, y'all. They'll beat us to the church, get the word, and be gone. That's just for free that day, y'all. But notice it said on the first day of the week, very early in the morning. If you want to have a relationship with God, you got to be on your job all the time. You can't be sitting around waiting. You got to be talking to God early in the morning. You got to find out what God would have you to do, and you got to have your mind fixed on the work. Oftentimes we find ourselves sleeping in, relaxing, just waiting. But you got to get up early in the morning and talk to the Lord. Can I tell y'all something? I don't believe they just got up at that moment in time. They got up, and I believe they got up and prayed first. Lord, where would you want us to go? And as sometimes we do, we hear what we want to hear. I don't believe God told him to go to the tomb and look in. I believe the Lord told him to go find Jesus. And oftentimes we're faced with things that God has not told us to do, and we do them on our own, and we find ourselves in messes. Here we go, y'all. Here we go. As they looked inside, they saw two men with shining garments on them, which most people perceive to be an angel, that there were angels in the tomb, but they called them men. But the reason I believe that they called them men is because this was written by men, and so men tend to place ourselves in those gender spots. But angels have no gender. That's for free, y'all. That's for free. I'm going, so y'all just give me a few minutes. And when they saw them, it says they became afraid. How would you be afraid of what God has sent to you? Well, various times in the Bible we find out that when angels showed up, sometimes there was a devil angel, and sometimes there was an angel of destruction. There was an angel that would lift you, but these angels came with a word, and the word they came with, you need to listen to. They said, Jesus is risen. And because Jesus is risen, you don't need to be looking in there. You need to be looking around to see where Jesus is at. Because he's not here, and why are you looking for him in a place that he told you he would not be here? You see, Jesus had already told them that he was coming back. In 3 days he was going to get up, and when he got up, you should not expect to find him where they laid him. You see, he had to go through the whole process. He had to be put into the tomb. The tomb had to be sealed, and it had to be guarded. And because all those things happened, what happens now, y'all, it sets in place a story of a great breakout. You see, in order for them to come back and look for Jesus, there had to be a reason for them to believe that Jesus was not in the tomb. That somebody today has been looking for the Lord in the wrong places. You've been going to your friends and trying to console them about what the Lord says. You've been talking to your mama about what the Lord says. You've been on your job asking people about what the Lord says. But my Bible tells me if you want to talk to the Lord for yourself. Get your word from the Lord yourself. And that will change your perspective on life. Tomb. The stone was rolled away and the body was missing. Two angels appeared in front of them, and somebody had the audacity to scream, he has risen. The risen part of it is that they want you to know that Jesus is not where you thought he was, but he had already left this place. But somebody in here today needs to understand that in order for you to follow these three things, in order for you to look and listen, you must also learn from the Lord. The very last verse says, make sure I say this exactly right. He says, and they remembered his words. What are these words that Jesus gave them? Jesus told them that he was coming back. He told them they would crucify him. He told them that they would convict him of crimes that he did not commit. But what he did not tell them was that it would be easy. We often, when Jesus was talking to them, they often did not understand the pain and the suffering that he would go through. And because they did not understand that, oftentimes they would assume that it was just going to be an easy transition. Nothing worth having in life is easy. If you want something in life, you got to have the mindset that God is going to take care of me, so I'm going to go through it anyhow. That is the learning part of this text. That is, his words were always that you have to do things that I ask you to do despite of what it seems like. You have to realize that when I send you, I'll be there waiting for you. You have to realize that if you don't believe in me, you can't do nothing for me. God wants us to realize that we must understand that whatever he asks us to do is we're going to have some rough times. It's going to be painful sometimes, but it will be beneficial to us. Sometimes in your life, you got to stop and think about, God, you called me for this. God, what is it that you want me to do? And yet believe what he is saying to you. See, in this text, he was telling the people that you have to be encouraged despite of what it looks like. You have to go on despite of what people do to you. You can't let nothing stop you despite the circumstances, the pain, the problems, the predicaments you find yourself in. People are going to come looking for you to be a failure. People are going to come and say, he said he was getting up. And they're going to come to the tomb, and you ought not to be there. You ought not to be there waiting. You ought to be already gone doing what God has called you to do. Then I wonder sometimes why God set this text up this way. I wonder why so many people, when they find themselves in a struggle, cannot use some simple principles to get themselves out of messes. The first principle of life is you got to look at your situation and ask yourself some questions. Would God have me to be here in this situation? Would God want me to go through this? And can I tell you how you can clarify that God wants you to be in a situation? If God is holding on to you and strengthening you through a situation, he wants you to be in that situation. If God is encouraging you in your struggle, he wants you to stay in your struggle. Because sometimes it's easy just to jump out of your struggle and throw your hands up and say, I quit, and run on, and then realize that you should have stayed there because your blessing was just right around the corner. That's the looking piece. The learning piece, you got to learn from your struggle. A lot of times, we don't want to struggle. But I found out, y'all, if you struggle, it builds endurance. Anything that you struggle at some point in time, you'll want to get better so it won't be so much of a struggle. Y'all, I had a struggle almost 2 years ago. And that struggle was I had to have sugar in my system. I had to have something that just boosted me up. And I could not get rid of it. My struggle, as y'all heard me say many times ago, was Krispy Kreme donuts. Because whenever I saw them, I had to have them in my system. I would stop at the store and go into the store and get them. But the sugar was eating away at my body, and it was hurting me because I had become addicted to it. And so my struggle, y'all, was I had to get rid of the eating of the donuts in order to understand that there was an addiction in my body. So if I found something that God wanted me to do, that it would be a struggle for me to quit. Because guess what, y'all? Those Krispy Kreme donuts will give you diabetes. All that sugar in your system will mess you up. But it was a struggle for me, and I had to get rid of it. And so I'm encouraging you today, learn from your struggle. Learn how to achieve things outside of your struggle. And listen to what God is saying to you. This writer here, Luke, detailed everything. He let us know that what they heard from the angels and what they read was important. But he said, remember the words of Jesus. And I would imagine that as those ladies stood there, they remembered John 14, 1 through 7. John, God, believe also in me. He said, in my Father's house there are many mansions, and if it were not so, I would have told you. This is what Jesus said. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself. That where you are, there may we be also. And where I go, you know, and the way you know. But there's always somebody, y'all, who's going to come back and tell you, Lord, we don't know where you're going. And how can we know the way? But Jesus said, he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And if, here we go, y'all, you had known me, you would have known my Father also. And from now on, you know him and have seen him. In other words, y'all, you have to learn what the Lord wants you to do. And the Lord wants you to understand that everything that he tells you is for you. And if the Lord is right there with you, and that you don't have to worry about it because he's got it all worked out for you. If you learn what God can do for you and will do for you, then you can celebrate in spite of your troubles. You can celebrate this in spite of your problems. You have to believe God and communicate with God, and you have to be able to stand up and say, I know the place that God has prepared for me because I've been with the Lord. And if you've been with the Lord, you'll understand that heaven is where our goal is not to be down here. If you're sitting here today and you're longing to stay here, you've got your mind fixed on the wrong thing. Jesus wants you to know that he already left this place. He's already risen and he's coming back. And in order for you to go with him, you have to be prepared. You have to have looked in the tomb and realized that there was nothing in the tomb for you. You have to have listened to the angels and understand that the word of God is powerful, it is strong, and it's life-changing. And you have to be learning each and every day that if you don't give up this worldly stuff, you cannot go with Jesus when he comes back. My father in the nation would say, you got to do like grandmama them said, you got to find somebody who can tell you something and listen to them. I found out, y'all, in my life, in the struggles and the trouble that I've had, that God has always laid out a pathway for me. It says he's the way, the truth, and the life. If you don't have anything else to live about today, you ought to live on the fact that Jesus rose early this morning. He got up with all power in his hand, and he's telling you right now, don't let your heart be troubled. Be encouraged today because he got something for you, something that's greater than man has for you. He has the joy and the liberation of the fact that he's coming back for you one day. Not be too long from now. That's why he keeps encouraging us with his mighty acts. That's why we can see folks on TV making statements and declaring us this foolishness. That's why when we find ourselves in predicaments, God can always tell us what is going to happen, and we are not caught off guard by anything. Sometimes in our lives, we have to just listen to God and understand that he has a plan for you, and his plan for you is salvation. I said, Pastor, how do I get to salvation? Where you get to salvation is you got to give up in order to get up. You have to give up this world to get up to heaven. And if you don't give up this world, you can never achieve what Jesus had for you. Somebody said, Pastor, I still don't get it. But let me give it to you this way. Jesus had to come down from heaven and dwell in the body of a man. He had to go through all types of suffering, had to be beat and talked about and laughed at and poked at. He had to die, y'all, but he had to get up. And the reason he had to get up is so somebody like me and you would have an opportunity to have a second chance, a chance to start over, a chance to fix themselves, a chance for a new life. Somebody like me had to go through a struggle sometimes in our lives to know that God has a plan for us, and the plan is the plan of salvation. Pastor, how do I get there? Give up. Give up. And God will lift you up. I believe it was Jesus said, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all man unto me. In other words, they had to lift him up in order for us to see him. And the only way that people can see God in us is we have to lift up Jesus. And if you lift up Jesus, it will change everything in your life. You won't do the same things you used to do. You won't walk the same way you used to walk. You'll have a new life. You'll have a new truth. You'll have a new way. You'll have a new baptism. You'll have a new you. That'll change some stuff in your life. I'm on my way to my seat now, y'all. I only have to tell you one more thing. And that thing is that Jesus is coming back. He made a promise to us over 2,000 years ago. He said, don't worry about what they do to me, because there is a plan for me that has been orchestrated from the beginning of time. The plan was for them to beat him. The plan was for them to lie on him. The plan was for them to talk about him. But I believe he said, by his stripes we are healed. In other words, if they didn't beat him, I can't be healed. If they didn't talk about him, I can't be encouraged in my situation. If they didn't bury him in a temporary tomb, I could not stand here today and tell you what he's done for me, because I had to have faith in the fact that Jesus died for somebody like me. And the fact of the matter is, I had to believe that if he died for me and he promised me he would get up when they glared into the tomb, they didn't see a body. I had to believe that, y'all, in order to be in a place where I can understand that faith requires you to believe what people call impossible. Anybody in here today, y'all, has ever had somebody to tell you that you couldn't do something that God had told you you were capable of doing? It requires you to have faith, like King described, to walk up a staircase that you do not see. Faith is just that, y'all, is believing that God is going to take care of what God has told you to do, despite what the evidence says. You see, the evidence says sometimes that you can't do it. You don't have the right piece of paper. You're not from the right pedigree. Your mama wasn't too good. Your daddy wasn't too good. The school you went to wasn't the best school. But sometimes in your life, you've got to understand that it does not matter what folks say about you. It only matters that God said that I'm going to take you there. I'm going to lift you up. I'm going to push you forward. And when you begin to believe what God has told you, that's called faith. And as your faith grows, your strength grows, your boldness grows, and you're able to step out and do some stuff that people thought were impossible. I'm reminded y'all this morning of Peter, who stepped out on the water and began to walk, y'all. I'm reminded y'all of Moses, who had some problems, but God allowed him to liberate Israel. I'm reminded y'all of what Jesus said. He said, I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go, I'll come back and get you, y'all. Some of y'all don't understand right now why I said I'll go, because nobody had ever died and came back and had eternal life. Some of those already had died. They died again, and they did not have everlasting life. But when Jesus died, y'all, he died and got up and came back and began to talk to folks and walk with folks. And he's still walking around now, y'all, because he got up, y'all, early one Sunday morning, because they beat him, y'all. They lied on him, y'all. They talked about him. But I want to tell y'all what the Bible says. The Bible says that for 3 days he was in the tomb, y'all. But they said he got up early one Sunday morning. He got up not with limited power, but with all power. If you want to see Jesus, you got to believe in the fact that he got up early Sunday morning for you. He got up for you. He got up for your family problem. He got up so you have an opportunity to be changed, y'all. And I declare to y'all today, I know I've been changed. I know I've been changed. I'm not saying I'm perfect, y'all, but I know I've been changed. I've been changed, y'all, because he got up over 2,000 years ago. And when he got up, somebody said he reached down and lifted me up. And when he lifted me up, y'all, I stood up and I began to walk. I began to talk. I began to praise him. I began to celebrate. And you can't celebrate on this Resurrection Sunday how good God has been to you. You got a problem, y'all. I just want you to know, y'all, I'm so happy today, y'all. If y'all don't see me over there, if I should leave this place, y'all, don't worry about me, y'all, because I've already claimed my piece of real estate, y'all, up in heaven, because he done put my name on the roll, y'all. I bid you farewell. I'll see y'all later. I'm telling y'all right now, don't come looking for me in the old tomb, because if I go home today, I'm going to be with Jesus. I'm going to celebrate with Jesus. I love my wife, but I gotta tell y'all this. If he called me home today and give me a choice to stay with her or to go home, y'all, or feel the same, or reap a virgin, bye-bye, aloha, body, I'ma see you later after I'll drop it down. I'm on my way out of here, y'all, and I don't know why, but God told me to tell you, don't worry about this earthly place. Strive for heaven. Reach for new heights. Be encouraged today. Be prepared to go. Live your life so that when he makes that call, when he comes back, he'll scream your name and say, well done, my good and faithful servant, and enter into his life. I just thought I was going to tell y'all that. Y'all are still looking in dead places for live stuff. God is calling you to live and to live for him. Somebody here today is still looking for something that God has told you is dead. Somebody here today is still got their mind fixed on going somewhere that God has told you not to go. So I encourage you today to stop looking for life in dead places. Will you please stand? Tell your neighbor, look, listen, and learn. Look at what God is doing for you. Listen to what God is saying for you, to you, and learn what God has told you. Because that's what salvation is about. Believing in everything that God has proclaimed in your life. Jesus told him, I'm leaving this place. When he said, it's finished, he was talking about this earthly vessel. But his work wasn't finished. So we offer Christ to you today. We offer Christ to you. If you don't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, the altar's open. Can I say it this way? Just because your name is on the church roll does not mean you're going to heaven. Number two, some of us have been traveling down the wrong road. We've been driving down I-65 south. But we're not going south, we're going north. We're in a dangerous situation. And we have to turn around. But it's difficult to turn around. But we have to find a way to turn around before it's too late. So we all get an opportunity to turn around. Number 3, if you're new to the community and you're looking for a church home, a place to worship, a place to work, and a place to witness, we'll actually become a part of our ministry. I have to tell you the truth, y'all. We're not perfect, but we're striving to get better. Those are your choices. But of all those choices that I gave you, number 1 and number 2 are the most important. Build a relationship with Jesus Christ. Build a relationship with Jesus Christ. If you can't do it here, do it in another church. I'm not concerned about numbers. I'm concerned about souls. You can be a member of anybody's church as long as your soul is with the Lord. We offer Christ to you.